and my mic is on. Good morning. Today is Tuesday, August the 11th. Welcome to the Management and Internal Services Committee meeting. I am Connie Malier, the chair of this committee, and we have a quorum this morning. Let's start with the invocation, if you'll please bow your heads. Lord, thank you so much for this beautiful summer day, and thank you for the blessings we have, including the right to assemble and govern ourselves. Help us as we make decisions this morning that affect us and affect our neighbors and the citizens of this county. And some of these decisions are hard, they're difficult, but guide us and be sure our actions are based in truth and in fairness. In your name we pray, amen. Please join me for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, republic, one nation, under God.
Thank you. Do we have an approval of the minutes from our previous meeting?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
So moved. And an approval of the agenda for today. Do we have any changes?
Not to my knowledge, Madam Chair.
Gentlemen, any changes?
Nope.
Thank you. Do we have any presentations? Being none, let's move directly into the business part of the agenda. I don't see anything on the consent agenda. Our debate agenda starts with County Manager Scott Johnson.
Thank you, ma'am. First item you have for your consideration is the extension of the State Property Commission agreement for the Department of Family and Children Services. This is an agreement we've had in place for quite some time. They are 12-month agreements. This one would begin July 1st, 2020 and end June 30th, 2021. It's the same terms and conditions and everything that we have in the current agreement. The monthly rental rate is $7,661.63. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent. Second.
So moved. Next.
Next one you have is an extension of the State Properties Commission agreement for the Department of Driver Services. Extends for the same period, July 1st, 2020 through June 30, 2021. It's the same terms, conditions, covenants, agreements, and provisions under the current agreement. The monthly rental rate for this one is a lot less. The monthly rental rate is $1 to the Department of Driver Services. Give you a little bit of background why that is. Several years ago, Columbia County did not have a driver services, and we lobbied the state to get one here, and they said, if you guys will provide a place, we'll provide the staff. So that's been the agreement for some time.
So we lease the property and then give it to the state for $1.
That's correct. We lease the property, pay the lease on the property, and then we lease it back to them for this nominal rate. But that's the agreement that we have in place.
You know what that fee is? Paying to rent?
It goes. It's on a sliding scale. It goes up. I don't know what that number is now. I know that it's. We renegotiate that on a pretty regular term, and you do approve that. We do bring that before you for approval as well when that comes up. I think we did it here about 6 or 8 months ago.
Motion yet? Move to
No, sir. Staff recommends approval.
Second.
So moved. The self-insurance workers' compensation fund?
Just briefly on that, as you know, we're members of the Group Self-Insurance Workers' Compensation Fund with ACCG. As a result of that, we are eligible for the Safety Incentive Discount Program, and that's 7.5% of our annual premium. We've participated in the program since 1999. Since then, we've gotten over $643,000. This year, Columbia County received a check for $125,607 as our pro rata share from a cash distribution for qualifying members. So at this time, staff will recommend approval for the chairman to sign the safety discount verification form and for Columbia County to receive the safety discount incentive program, the safety incentive program discount.
Move to consent. Second.
So moved. Colonel Kennedy?
Mr. Granado will brief the next item.
Oh, you got a tie on.
Doesn't it look sharp?
Thank you all. This is for the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program Recipient Subrecipient Agreement from Hurricane Irma. That's how long this has been. Basically, it's for funding for 6 portable generators and 3 fixed generators with a total project cost of $1.396 million. The shares, FEMA is $1,047,000. The state is $139,000, and our local share is $209,000. Staff recommends approval of the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program Recipient Subrecipient Agreement.
And this is in the budget, right?
This is not yet in the budget. So, but what happens is we have to basically pay for everything up front. But speaking to FEMA, that we're allowed to do it in pieces, and then, hopefully they pay it back with the quickness, how long that takes.
Move to consent.
Second with a question. This a federal bill where there's a lot of requirements that you're committing to federal obligations if you accept this kind of money?
No, this is strictly because of, basically what happened is when President Trump declared it an emergency, they gave all of this money. This is leftover money. So,
I understand, but if you accept the money, are you taking a hold to some of the requirements and recommendations?
I think the answer is yes, on many fronts, or every front comes with federal money.
This was a big issue just so ago, and I know a lot of money, and I don't know how much federal money we get. I'm sure we get a tremendous amount, but our citizens were concerned federal and recommendations for our county. So I'm just asking the question. Drivers, that
had to meet a lot of requirements to get it done.
Have a motion and a second. Any other questions? So moved.
Thank you.
We're moving to consent, ones we've hit so far. Now we have internal services.
Yes, the first item I have for you is the appointment of 2 individuals to the Department of Family and Children Services Board. They have requested to add 2 additional members. These are not replacements, but they are additional members. One is Brian Adams, a school social worker with the Columbia County School District, and the other is Detective Daniel Gaston, a Columbia County investigator. Staff recommends appointing these 2 individuals to the Department of Family and Children Services.
Move to consent.
second, what's the term of these? Have turnover on that board, or is it?
There is a term. Do you know, Patrice? They had to be one had to be a social worker, the other had to be a detective or investigator. So I'm not sure, but we can find out.
I don't know that I've ever seen it. I don't remember.
We have, yes.
Sorry, they're starting to run together.
I know.
So moved. We have one for safety incentive discount program.
Yes, this is similar to the one that was previously presented, but this is with the IRMA program through ACCG, which is our property and liability coverage. If we meet all of the requirements for the safety incentive discount program, we qualify for a premium discount of 5%. You see there listed what all the requirements are, and we have complied with these. The verification form must be signed by the chairman and sent back to ACCG by September 15th in order to receive this discount. So staff is recommending approval of the program and authorization for the chairman to sign the verification.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Next.
And for the next item, I'm going to ask our procurement manager, Glenn Osteen, to come up and present it.
Morning.
Morning, Glenn.
This item's for a 911 telephone system for the Sheriff's Department. May 14th, we received proposals for this RFP. 4 proposals were received. The purpose was to select a qualified, experienced firm to install a new 911 system for the Sheriff's Department. Vesta Solutions, a subsidiary of Motorola, they prepared the best solution for the Columbia County Sheriff's Office, and they received the highest score and are the recommended provider. Staff recommends approval of RFP 2020-013, RFP 1311 for the 911 system to Vesta Solutions and enter into an agreement beginning August 18th, 2020 and terminating June 30th, 2025. We reserve the right to cancel this agreement, 30-day notice.
Well below their budgeted amount of 500,000.
It's about 35,000 below that amount.
How often do we replace the system?
How often?
In
I
years?
can talk a little bit about that. Right now, we're on the enhanced 911. That was mandated in 1990, so it's old technology. This is 911 next generation, so it's high time we do it.
Oh, yes.
In some years.
We're able to send out text messages.
Right, everything's over IP with the
Good.
next generation. So you can send texts, you can send photos, you can send videos, and it'll all go to the 911 answering center.
30 years, I guess it's time.
Yeah, since it was mandated, so the technology's probably 10 years earlier than that. So.
Right.
And as you recall, with 911 funds, we're restricted to the use of those funds. We can
Right.
only use those funds for very limited things within the walls of 911, and we lobbied several years ago to help pass a law to give us a little bit of flexibility. We've been able to spend the money outside the walls a bit, but we do have the funding necessary and a fund balance in 911, so we're comfortable with the amount.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Technology services.
All right, the first item I've got before you is a Cisco Smartnet renewal. Cisco was a company that provides most of our network phone hardware, the equipment that we use to communicate with each other. Most of it comes from Cisco. Cisco has a variety of different licensing agreements. You'll see another one later on in the agenda, but this one is for Smartnet, and Smartnet basically has been set up to account for all of the hardware. So really, this is our annual offering to the Cisco gods to pay for switches and all of our network gear and things like that. So that is $211,155.52. That is part of IT's operating budget for this year, and staff recommends approval.
Matt, with a question.
Yes, sir.
On this hardware and all, do we own that, or does Cisco own it and we're leasing it, or how?
We own the hardware. The Smartnet basically means that as for the life of it, if we have a problem with it, we've got a very quick, within 3 days, replacement on some, shorter than that on others, to make sure that we get a replacement, because a lot of this gear is very critical to what we do.
A time frame when we replace the hardware that we have out there, and is that?
Yes, sir. All of our hardware is on a replacement cycle, so we know when it's coming up for renewal, and we'll put in budget to purchase new equipment.
Second, with a question of how it relates to the next item that's $300,000, but you can get, when we get to that, you can.
Have a motion and a second. Moved it to consent. Next.
Okay, the next item is the DNA licensing agreement. This is, before with Smartnet, we talked about hardware. DNA, the digital network architecture, is more of the software that helps power all the items that are on the Smartnet agreement. So what Cisco has done, and this is a new agreement for this year, they basically split those out so that it's a separate license. Last year, I believe you all approved an agreement for our security and for our phone licensing. So really, it's 3 types of licensing that Cisco does, and I just happen to be bringing you 2 of them at this particular time. The DNA agreement, the way that it's broken down is that this cost is only going to be $36,000 for this year. Over the course of the entire agreement, the way that the licenses would have worked out, it would have been over $300,000. If you break that down under a new agreement, and this is a game that the software and hardware providers play, is we sign this agreement, then we get savings over the next 5 years. So it's $182,000 over the 5 years. So the expense for this year would only be $36,527.04.
We're signing up for 5 years.
Yes, sir.
We're in the middle of that.
No, this is for the agreement that we're in the middle of is with the provider of these services. So we're signing this agreement that if we carry through for the 5 years, savings that we'll realize. Presidio is the company that we currently deal with in order to procure the licenses. And the commission approved them as our provider 2 years ago.
Move to consent, if I haven't already.
I've lost track. What, do we have a motion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. So moved. Next.
The last item I have for you is cabling for the Performing Arts Center. This is a bid that IT headed up in order to make sure that we have a qualified, technology proficient vendor in order to install all the network cables. So we worked with procurement in order to send out a bid. We've got a net planner that came back with a low bid of $33,194.18. Their mission is going to be to basically cable the building with all of the network cabling. So they'll put run the cables from the computer rooms to basically through the conduit into the jacks that are in the various rooms in the building. Staff recommends approval.
Any of this in our original contract, our original bid?
My understanding from staff is that with the technology items, that because when you do your original bid, so much of it is, you're looking at several years into the future. So this is one of those things that over time evolved where when we're ready to do this, we do the bid to make sure that we get the latest and greatest technology. We don't want to have a very old bid. So there's an estimate for technology in the original project done later on in the process to make sure that we're using, we specified for Category 6 cabling versus Category 3 cabling that the building was designed initially.
Matt, was there some kind of allowance in the bid for this? This is all extra.
Right, I think it wasn't part of the bid.
Okay. So
We
you
always
have some in the budget set aside for this.
We hold the IT stuff close to the vest on these types of buildings, just because our IT department is so proficient and so good at what they do. We have our own broadband utility, and people just don't typically understand that when they bid these jobs, and they don't give us the fiber that we need, or the switches that we need, or the kind of cable we need because of the robust system that we have. So we typically on big buildings like this, keep it close to the vest, let them do it, oversee it. But yeah, we do have a line to budget for it.
That was my main concern, just make sure there was money already
Not
set
an
aside
extra,
for this.
right.
Not an extra, okay.
I remember that it was not part of the bid,
All of that stuff was
the initial.
on
But
it.
we had all right, as long as we had a budget for it and we saw it coming. Right, do we have a,
Move to consent.
Second.
so moved. Anything else?
No, ma'am.
What else do we have? Say legal matters, none. Staff reports, county manager.
First item you have is just your personnel savings so far for this year. You can see that our total savings to date is $149,000. A lot of that has to do with the fact we have approved positions that are, we're putting those out incrementally. We didn't want to put out 40 positions at one time, so we're putting those out, and as we don't put them out, we're saving a little bit on those. So that's just for your information.
Y'all have any questions? Internal services report?
Yes, the first item for your review is the year-to-date budget report. This is for the new fiscal year. So for the month ended July 31st, 2020, we should be operating around 8.3%. We are well under that at this point. It's really not much to report for the first month. We're still working on year-end information and processing for that. So hopefully next month I can have a good June 30 report for you.
SPLOST update.
Yes, the next item is the sales tax update. We have collected revenues for the month of June. That amount was not quite $2.3 million, and we're now at an annualized percentage increase of 9.76%.
Good work.
You're welcome.
And the investment report.
Yes, just the investment of excess funds for your review, just showing where we have them placed.
Interest rate on a lot of these is fantastic. Do you see any of them rolling over in the next few weeks that are going to be?
In fact, a lot of stuff has been called because interest rates have dropped so much, and we actually have a lot of funds just kind of sitting, waiting for the market to change, because I don't want to invest anything long-term at
1%.
0.5% or something, so.
We have some great rates out here. These are impressive. I I hope too many of them don't get called, because
No.
this is 5 times what the rest of us are getting on our savings account.
Can you invest my money for me?
Sure. Not right now.
Okay, do y'all have any questions, gentlemen?
Nope, no questions.
No questions? I believe that completes the main part of our agenda. Do we have any public comment, commissioner comment? Being none, I have nothing for executive session, and if no other business, this committee is adjourned at 8:50.
Couple of minutes.
Couple of minutes. Thank you.
1 minute. Order to Public Works and Engineering Services Committee meeting for August 11th. Invocation and pledge will have a quorum. If I could I get
Second.
a Johnson?
I believe we're good, Mr. Chairman.
I don't think there's any presentations. Right into the debate. Clayton. Up, sir.
Good to see you, Mr. Clayton.
For your consideration of engineering proposals, sign and preparation document items, allow us emergency power at our Little River, placement of our all operating items for this year. Recommend their
So your budget was 1.5 million, but you're getting it all for 61,000?
No, that's the engineering.
Oh, just the engineering part. Okay.
Yes,
Sorry,
ma'am.
sorry, I misunderstood.
We
I
wanted
wish
it
I
to work
could.
with IT if that were the case.
That's a pretty good
Sorry,
deal.
sorry, Michael.
It's
Sorry.
your part-time job, Mr. Clayton.
Thank
No
you.
thanks, I got a full-time one already.
Move to consent.
Second.
For your consideration, engineering proposal from Blue Water Engineering. Design and specification, place sewer down here at the bottom of Ronald Reagan, right here. Tax piece. They replaced that culvert at. Now have a belly in that. The proposed cost of construction cost, that's gonna be about $250,000. He has given us a proposal $1,575. We pay for this out of our general operation well, and we recommend approval.
This has something to do with where we did the work out there when we did the,
Yeah, it's right in that same area. We don't know if the work caused it or it was already there and just gotten worse. Don't know.
big job. Well,
It's just got to be replaced.
Motion to consent.
Second.
Another engineering proposal from Blue Water to basically design approximately 1,000 feet 8-inch sewer on our Kelly Branch sewer line, and this is because the creek has intruded that sewer to the now in jeopardy. Thing to do is to move it completely up and out of the way. His engineering proposal is in the amount of $32,000. Construction estimate is $500,000. Recommend approval and an extension in renewal established with a funding level of $500,000.
Move to consent.
Second with a question that says $32,000 for the design,
For the engineering
for
and
the
bids.
engineering design, but the project's gonna be about 500,000. That's a little over 15%.
It's not that much.
Got it, okay. All right, yes. Thank you.
so move.
Have for your consideration a Verizon Tower agreement. This would be on our Appling elevated tank. Gracious. It was a long time to work this out with Verizon. They have gotten too powerful, I guess. We finally got there and we finally towed the line on them, and but it's basically of $5,000 with an annual fee of $23,400. The initial agreement is a 5-year agreement, and this is worded wrong in here, with an additional 4 5-year extension. So any one of those require commissioner approval. Here brings a 7.5%, 2.75, let me get that right. 5% increase at $23,000 monthly recommend approval.
Have a lot of different towers, or all the other towers out there, are they paying rent on there, or is that gold mine you got sitting on that hill?
Good for the money, I mean, the county.
Johnny's recaps.
Do you want to sell that water tower, Mr. Clayton? Wondering.
Mr. Clayton, your contract does say 102.75%
Right,
in the contract.
Does it?
It
Yes, it
does.
does.
Contract be wrong.
I would get them to sign this one quick.
Yes.
I would too. That was,
I saw that.
that's where I was going with this. I mean, so 102.75, that's what the contract says. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but that math seems to be wrong.
Negotiated, Chris, right?
I did, I know
Sign
that.
it.
Sign it and send it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've already signed it.
Already signed it.
I wanted to question my math. I mean, I was, okay, is it 2.75% or is it 102 point, I mean, that's,
Look,
Take it, Billy.
they can afford
take
it.
it. Take it.
Take it.
Dang.
They may be
We may be, eventually be able to eliminate all property tax because of this deal.
When they went to penny pension on us, I looked them up, they're at $8 billion a year. We ain't doing no penny pension.
All right, motion to consent.
Second, quickly.
Negotiating.
I have for your, Mark England did a good bit of it. I have for your consideration for our Glenwood Sewer Project from Mrs. DeMello for .01 acres, and we recommend acceptance of that.
Second. I'm sorry, motion to approve.
So move.
He made a motion. Billy.
Have for your consideration a easement acceptance and from Jeremy Allrich. We're going to abandon .13 acres back to him. A deed to us, acres. Recommend approval.
Motion to consent.
Second.
So move.
Have for your consideration an encroachment agreement with AMG Properties in Columbia County. They just want to build a line that's on our utility, their water main, and we recommend approval.
Move to consent.
This fits within all of our other signed ordinances.
That I don't know. I don't check that part of it out.
I haven't looked at it either, but Scott's saying,
It would be contingent upon
The
that.
height is like 10.
Okay. I just didn't want this to sound like a carte blanche. Go build what you want to. Second.
So move.
Last item we have here is a bid that we received. Water treatment plant pond sludge removal. Lowest responsive bid we got, Denali Water Solution, the amount of $134,070 for the removal of dry tons. We've got $400,000 budgeted. Make some on sludge removal from water. Probably spend $1,000 and I can get rid of right now. Recommend approval.
This is an ongoing process that we.
Yes. They're fixing to change criteria. This is basically they're fixing to start like sewage. Very concerning. As soon as we know a bit more about it, I may be getting with sessions plan on this. It's crazy what they're
So this includes the disposal part of it, or
Yes.
is there?
They land applied.
Where does it go?
Don't care. They have a permit with the state of Georgia to land apply. Well, I'm good with that.
It
They
just
have
goes
a-
away
Goes
somewhere. Not in my yard.
No,
Move to
won't be,
consent.
won't be, unless you want it, coming to your yard.
Have a motion.
I said move to consent.
Second.
So move.
Thank you, committee.
You.
All right, so you take
Yes, sir.
it. Okay.
So the first item we have for your consideration is the 2020 EMIG bid. This bid on July 16th with the lowest, most responsive bidder being ER Snell in the amount of $4,194,387. Partial funding from GDOT was received in the amount of $1,745,488.56 to help cover this. The roads to be improved will be Old Louisville Road, from Columbia Road to Wrightsboro Road, Owens Road from Bel Air Road to Washington Road, and Magnolia Hills subdivision. We do not know yet what order they will be improved, but we have requested that information. Staff recommends approval.
Days that are allowed to cover all the, right, wasn't it?
That's correct.
Motion to consent.
Second.
So moved.
Sir. The next item we have is the Watervale Drainage Rehabilitation Project. This is the first phase of a three-phase project. The next phase is being design, and the third phase being construction. This is a drainage issue we're having on Watervale Road. It's a 384-inch corrugated metal pipe drainage system conveying stormwater from a pond to a downstream stream, and we've been having maintenance issues with that. This is for the survey of that system and for us to determine what environmental impacts and options we have to repair it, whether it be we want to tear out the whole road or if we can repair in place. We've reached out to 3 engineering firms, and the lowest, most responsive bidder was Blue Water Engineering with the amount of $15,950. Staff recommends approval.
Motion to consent.
Second.
Stormwater money,
Correct. Yeah.
so moved.
The next is prior rights research on Horizon South Parkway. So when you have a utility that needs to relocate their utility systems, if they have prior rights there, they basically can charge for part or all of that relocation cost. Georgia Power has submitted a relocation estimate in the amount of $1,011,910. $1,011,910. What this prior rights research proposal from Surveying and Mapping is to go in and basically audit Georgia Power's prior rights research. We discussed this with Scott Johnson, and he asked us to reach out to Surveying and Mapping and get their basically their track record on the recent projects, and Steve Exley reached out to them. And a project here at home, Fury's Ferry, they're estimating that they're going to save the project $675,000 prior rights research. Is that correct, Steve?
Is it typical for the utility companies to overstate their units?
If they cannot find out directly if they have it or not, they just assume they do, from my understanding.
This is one of those cases, and we've had a lot of discussion about this, where I'm a little reluctant to spend money on the hopes that we get savings like this. And we'd really like to find a situation where we could go in and say, okay, if you find us a lot of money, then we'll give you a little piece of it. And there's a lot of companies that do that. This particular company doesn't operate that way. I did agree, because the staff was very, I guess, convinced that it would be good for us that we could do a small one and see how this goes. And then if that goes well, they do have a good track record. There have been times where they've saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. They just have the ability to get in there and audit Georgia Power's records and other records and really fight for us, where we don't have the ability necessarily or time or effort to do that. I did talk to Mr. Driver about it, about the possibility of having his firm do that as part of the right-of-way and deed investigation. And it could be done that way, but again, we'd be spending similar money. So we feel comfortable doing it this time to see how it works. And if we get a lot of money back, then we'll bring some more to you. And if we don't, then you probably won't hear from us again.
We've never done anything like
Not this. Now, we've done it with other types of industry. We did it with, we did a cable franchise audit one time. Georgia Power's done audits for us. Those don't cost us anything.
Doug Batchelor, Whole Barrett's done it before on road projects just like this and found mistakes that Georgia Power made, but you pay Whole Barrett or you pay Sam.
that. Right.
Does Georgia Power fight it if you say, hey, your number of linear
Oh, yeah.
feet or whatever is incorrect? Will they fight it, and then we?
Well, we fight it back and forth until somebody can prove that they're right or wrong. And
But these guys.
there's always enough of a trail to be able to prove whether they're right or wrong. At some point, Georgia Power will just give up on it. They're just not gonna fight over a single pole if we get all the way through a project.
This is because this is a subject that's kind of new to me. I'm familiar with relocating utilities, but I didn't realize that so this is their quote to move their utilities, basically, right?
Correct. $1 million.
Right, and so at any rate, all we're doing is auditing their proposal of the $1 million, so I get it.
That's correct. And there have been times where this particular company has had a proposal from Georgia Power that was $1 million to move poles, and they cut $300,000 or $400,000 off of that. They found out that Georgia Power didn't have the rights to them.
It'd be
Didn't have the
interesting just
right
to
of
know
way.
how this turns out if you.
Yeah,
make a
we
note.
will. We'll follow up. Again, this is, when they brought this to me, and I told Kyle this, that I wasn't real excited about it in the beginning, but I think it's worth the amount of money that we're investing here to see how it would go. They do have a good track record. They did provide us a very good track record of where they've done it in other places. We're not a guinea pig for them. They've been doing this for a while. And the person that owns this company, this was his prior life. I believe he worked for DOT at some point, doing something very similar. Did he work for DOT? Yeah, doing something very similar. So he went out in the private sector. Yep, right. So,
This will be a reimbursed through to you as well.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved.
The next item we have is a proposal for the inert landfill study. The last study we did on it was with Blue Water Engineering Services in 2017, where they estimated the life expectancy to end approximately mid-2020. And we are feeling close that feel like we're getting pretty close to the end of that, the life expectancy of the landfill. So this is a two-part study. Part one is basically going in and surveying, doing a topographic survey to understand where we are now with the landfill and how much more life we have. Also analyzing the downstream floodplains to see if it makes sense to submit a LOMAR, letter map revision, to see if we can extend our limits where we are now. And then part two is to do a cost-benefit analysis on whether it makes more sense for the county to construct a new landfill or to start using a third-party landfill. The third party, if so be, would be Sample and Son off Columbia Road.
Have land available purchasing.
We have some spots that we've thought about, but because we're growing so much, 3 years ago, we thought we had a spot, but all of a sudden, houses are around it. Tough to throw an inert landfill in the middle of the neighborhood. We've brainstormed about our best place to put this. We're not having any good ideas. That's kind of why we've asked Blue Water to kind of look around also and try to find some places for us. Great to find an old quarry that's no longer operational, but have one of those around. We're filling up fast. We're doing a lot more work. We have a lot more crews out there doing work. Our landfill is now full. Now, the problem with a new landfill is that the past inert landfills were inert landfills. You could dump mud and dirt and concrete and asphalt and trees, and that's what you did, and you buried it. Well, now they treat it like a solid waste. So now you treat it like you're putting household garbage out there. So you got to have the methane monitoring and the water monitoring. So basically open up another solid waste landfill if we open our own that we're putting dirt in.
Can we just sell it to Richmond County? Or pay them to take it?
Option, they do have a landfill, but that's one of the analysis that Bill, we would do with Blue Water. He's gonna look at what it would cost us to take it to Sample and Son, which is local, or take it to Richmond County. But it's several departments, so water utility utilizes it, stormwater utilizes it, roads and bridges utilizes it. I'm not sure if CLS ever carries any of their stuff out there. John was here, I guess he left. Their landscape, there he is. I'm not sure if CLS carries in their clipping and stuff out there when y'all do trees but anyway, a lot of departments look at this, so we gotta figure out what's the most cost-efficient way to dispose of our grass clippings, our concrete, and we do water patches. You know, we got rock, and we got asphalt, and we got curb. All that stuff has to go somewhere.
Services responsible for doing.
That's correct.
Will we be able to use, once we close this out, for anything?
It's not a pretty piece of land.
I've ridden in there. It's not attractive at all.
Like a transfer station or maybe a staging area for roads and bridges or something, but nothing permanent.
Yeah, I don't know that we'd want the public in there for a park or something like that, but it could be a good place to dump stuff, sort it, and then Another option we've looked at is we buy a screener and reclaim this landfill. Could we start digging out what we've already put in there and separate it out and get dirt in one location and get the bad material in another location? But the cost to do that is outrageous. The machine is very expensive. The maintenance on the machine is a tremendous amount of money. We're looking at all that. We're trying to figure out the best option, what is most efficient for everybody.
We'll have to, one way, shape, or form, pretty soon.
Absolutely. What Kyle had mentioned about the wetlands study or the floodplain study below it, we have regulations of how far away from the floodplain we have to be with our landfill. Basically, asked Bill if he could look at possibly studying where the limits of that floodplain are, and if those limits can shift 20 or 30 feet, we just open up a big chunk of land, keep putting material in. So we might spend a little money revising a floodplain map to keep our landfill operational for another year. Big money savings.
And I don't think I mentioned in the introduction, but the Blue Water Engineering Service proposal was for $19,500. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
So move.
The next item we have for you is the resolution to adopt the Community Rating System Program for Public Information and Repetitive Loss Area Analysis. Currently, the county participates in the National Flood Insurance Program's Community Rating System, CRS. And through this program, the county is currently classified, is rated as Classification 8, which provides a 10% discount on flood insurance premiums for properties located within the special flood hazard area. This is basically the next step to improve our classification down to a Class 6. This provides basically 2 public outreach components. Not sure if Katie Beth wants to expound upon that, but basically one is public outreach in general, and then the other is understanding areas, property owners that have had repetitive claims that are in the floodplains, reaching out to them and basically letting them know what they can do to improve their properties to basically mitigate future claims.
So more of us, outreach program than waiting for people to come to us and ask, and they say, well, I was flooded out, us reaching out and letting them know.
That's correct. And currently, like I said, we're at classification 8 that provides a 10% discount. If we get to a classification 6, I believe it's an additional 10% discount, Katie Beth, that we will be able to provide to our homeowners within the special flood hazard areas through adopting this resolution.
This rating system, we've participated in it for many years. They've recently redone the scoring on it, and it moved our rating up, which is not a good thing, not awful, but changed the scaling, I guess, if I can say. So it changed our number. Mr. Johnson has challenged us to get down. Obviously, we want to be the best. Katie Beth has taken this one by the horns, and she's running with it. So next year, we're hoping to have even more things to bring to you to get that rating to keep dropping.
So it is.
She can do it. She's good.
What he's saying is I jumped time when I found out about the rating system, and Katie Beth has done an outstanding job trying to get us back in line. It's only because we didn't do anything wrong. It's only because they changed the way they scored it. So now we've challenged staff to go back and, okay, now that we know the new way of scoring, let's figure out how we can get it lower. And they've done Katie Beth's done a great job. Her staff's done a great job.
Come up here.
Come on up.
We'll say this, all these savings are directly homeowner savings. This isn't money that we
Right.
don't pay. This is what
Right.
you and I pay.
And the cost for us to do this is just legwork from the staff doing
Correct.
outreach.
We do have a consultant that y'all approved us bring on board to help us get through some of this.
Previously, but this is just the adoption of the resolution.
Yeah, we entered into an agreement with Wood about a year ago to look at our program in ways that we can manipulate some things that we do and just increase our efficiency and our reporting to get more points. Then we also looked at ways that we could improve through new services, programs, and that's what this is. And it's not going to cost us any money. It's just like you said, it's mostly providing public education outreach targeted for like vulnerable populations, people in the real estate agency or the insurance types of things. So we've already started doing a lot of the legwork, so hopefully if we get approval, then we can see that change. And I would like to say thank you for your support. Connie Smith, our flood planning manager, has also been instrumental in making this happen.
Does this have to go to the debate agenda? Can it go to consent? Move to consent.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
So moved.
The next item we have is the acceptance of improvements for J&V Investments LLC easement plat. This is for the extension of water and sewer service to the Fairgrounds Office Park. Staff recommends acceptance of the improvements for J&V Investments easement plat contingent upon staff's approval of the final as-built plat and warranty deed with a 1-year warranty beginning the day the deed gets recorded.
Move for consent.
About to open, I think there's one other lot.
Daycare in the office, yep, that's right.
Second.
So moved.
The next item we have is acceptance of improvements for Robert Wilson easement plat. This is 3 lots that are being developed at the corner of Nob Hill and William Few. This is for the extension of sewer service to those 3 lots. Staff recommends acceptance of improvements contingent upon staff's approval of the final as-built plat and warranty deed with a 1-year warranty beginning the day the deed gets.
Move to consent.
Second.
I do have a comment there, or a question. Those lots, driveways, Uphill Farm,
As far as I know, it'll be Nob Hill Farm.
In uphill.
so moved.
Actually, on the recorded plat, there's a no access easement on the back, on the William Few side, so they cannot access William.
5 foot setback or whatever I saw.
75 minimum build line from William Few as well.
Okay, the next item we have is an easement encroachment at 2218 Kendall Park Drive. Want to understand Ivy Residential Development and completed improvements on a property in which a second-story eave and gutter encroach within our easement. And this is basically getting an encroachment agreement for those. Matt has a little more history on the project.
I work with Mr. Driver and Mr. Ivy on this one. This is the standard language y'all typically approve for encroachments that has been modified because of the situation here. The one you just approved a few minutes ago for a sign for Mr. Clayton was because the sign is on the ground near the water line. This is a second-story eave that is 18 inches into the easement, 20 foot in the air. The odds of it getting our way are slim. So Mr. Ivy asked that we change out some of the language. So one of the paragraphs that was removed basically said that we could at any time knock on the door and say, take your encroachment out of our easement. He asked that we would remove that language. Mr. Driver, Mr. Johnson and I, we talked about it. We felt that was okay because it's 20 foot above us. It's not on the ground. We thought that was okay. However, the language does say that if we damage it or it has to go before us to work, it's their cost. They are fully responsible for it. We have no liability for it. Still covered, we're still protected, but it's just not that standard language.
Any additional cost to us? Probably wouldn't, since it's 20 foot high. They responsible?
They are.
The homeowner or whoever?
Absolutely.
This doesn't have anything to do with small setbacks.
No, it could have been, it's a 20-foot easement, so he's actually not a small setback. He's actually farther away, but he built the house right up to the easement, not to the setback, because the eave sticks out over the easement. Nothing to do with setbacks. He just put a house that was big for that lot. And he understands that, and he's told me he's changed his pattern book, and that won't happen again.
To get forgiveness, then permission,
Pretty much.
pretty much.
Move to consent.
Second.
Okay, the last item we have for you is a proposal for Savannah Rapids Pavilion upper parking lot expansion, value engineering services. So this project was designed and bid about 3 years ago, and it came in well over budget. Staff has gotten together and identified several items that could be removed and incorporated into add alternates or phasing part of the design. construction. So we've reached out to the original design firm, asked for a quote to do these value engineering services, basically CAD services, and they came in too high, what we felt were too high. So then we reached out to another firm, Southern Civil Solutions, and Gary provided a quote to provide these services for $9,500. Staff recommends approval.
Think with the value engineering, we can be able to do those improvements over there?
Absolutely. It's basically, we've identified several key things that, one, have already been done, two, that aren't necessary in this phase, and three, that could be add alternates. So maybe the resurfacing of Evans Locks, the main drive, doesn't need to be done in construction if we can't afford it at this time. So we think through removing these items and value engineering the plans, we can get there, hopefully.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Legal items? Staff reports.
You'll see on our budgetary reports, we're over 9%, I think. About 8. I hear you. We're in good shape on those budgetary reports. Then I have for you our workload and our project updates. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Where do we stand with the UV construction?
The plans are basically completed. We're trying to get sign off by the state of Georgia to construct. They're being a little resistant. There are no systems. So we have just finished a fairly lengthy report to them stating why. Dealing with a bunch of young guns. They're overworked, underpaid. Because it's not established technology. The state of Georgia does not mean that it's not established.
We do feel confident that the investment that we'll make will results that we're looking for.
Not only results for today, but for some 5 to 10 years.
So we're just basically waiting for the state. That
And we get the county to sign off on it, then I'm gonna put it out on the street. I'd like to be under by the 1st.
did you say months?
One more season.
One more season.
Hopefully that's it.
I hope so, sir. Commissioners, public, I don't public this morning. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. I don't think we have any executive session items, so we are adjourned at
Hey, JB.